how do you create organizations that are truly about we and not me? And that, I think, Kris, was one of the things that broke that brick wall down, and we went, and, we've doubled our chapters. We've tripled the amount of summit attendees. We've gone from 2,000 to 9,000 certified exit planning advisors. And, we have a 5-star, a 5 out of 6 in our world, a best-in-class culture that's winning awards across the nation for culture and people. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Exit Is Now podcast with me, your host, Scott Snider. Another special edition episode coming your way today on a Flip the Script episode with my friend, Kris Snyder from 90. Kris, welcome back to the show.
Scott, I'm excited to be here, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. As you know, and as our audience, I think, have seen throughout or listened throughout the year, every so often, every about 3 or 4 episodes, we flip the script. It's been an interesting time over the last couple of seasons doing this. Last year, if you recall, we went through Team EPI and they flipped the script on me. And this year, we've been involving just different key players in the community, some internal, some external, that have helped us along the way. And why I invited you to come in and do this, because I think you know us and me at a deeper level, right? We're both here in Cleveland, Ohio. 90 is a deep partner of ours, from the summit to drivevalue.com and supporting the SEPA community. And you're a coach and mentor to many business owners and business leaders. So I thought it would just be kind of a cool time for you to ask questions to me or to us as an organization and see if I can answer them.
One of these days, I'm going to get you to come to one of my quarterly dinners.
I know, dude. What did I have last time? I had
your
something.
House. Your house was like you were closing on your house or something.
I was closing on my house. Yeah, they moved it. Yeah.
Yeah, but every quarter I try to get like 15 to 20 business leaders together in the community,
super cool,
just to meet each other, exchange ideas, and it's always awesome just to see the connectivity that happens from people who don't know each other. Because we think of Cleveland as being a smaller city, but at the same time, there's so many of us running around, right?
Well, and I feel like Cleveland is an entrepreneurial city. I really do. I think we have entrepreneurs, business owners, creators, and so I really wanted to come to that dinner. But yeah, we closed on that house.
Yeah. And if you ever want evidence to how entrepreneurial I think cities are, you go looking at organizations like EO, the Entrepreneurs Organization. Sure. Mm-hmm. And I was in it for 13 years, and we probably 165 people. I don't know what they are today, but then you'd meet other chapters in cities like, pick Chicago, and there's, they're at like 300. And you're like, how are we like half or more of what you are, the size of the city that you are?
Exactly
right. Yeah. I do think it's that combination of community, entrepreneurism, people seeking out other folks to do that. But,
super cool. Yeah. So I'm going to toss the keys to the car over to you and give you the host duties. So again, as for our audience, how this works is I'm going to take a different seat today and allow Kris to host the show and ask questions over to me. So your show.
Yeah, and I wasn't going to lead off with this one, but I will because of our conversation when we before we get started, which is, in the coaching world and the EOS frameworks and the even value acceleration methodology, it's annual season. Like people are doing annual planning, right? It kind of starts in October, depends on how all the way through January. Some people want to finish their budget and then go through the planning versus do the planning, get your budgets aligned. Okay. But you mentioned to me like your next week is your week, right?
That's it. It is our week.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your planning process, what you're looking forward to. So maybe a story or two that's happened in the past, because you guys go all out.
We do. So, and this is an interesting one. I'll be totally transparent with you too, and I think hopefully our audience and perhaps some of the business owners even listening today will also understand. So, what we have like maybe 4 different buckets or silos inside of our culture model at EPI, and one of them is rhythm. And so our rhythm is anywhere from a company-wide meeting on a Monday morning to our strategic retreats with both our whole company and our executive team. So just this week, we hosted a 1-day offsite strategic retreat for all 46 people at EPI so that we can all kind of contribute to strategy. We take that as executives and we take it into our executive retreat with me and my dad, Kris, and then our 6 executives. And we go deep. We're going like 8 to 5. Like you're totally like you sleep for like 2 days, Saturday and Sunday when you get home, but we start with the big picture, and so this year we're going to go 28, 27, and then 26. We're going to spend quite a bit of time this year, I think, on the 2026 model, because I think you're going to see a lot of change and evolution in EPI. You probably know this. I think many business leaders say you have to kind of evolve your business and your thinking every 3 years.
Yep.
Honestly, I think that we're probably at 5, so we're probably a little late to the game. But you can feel that it's time to sharpen products, maybe some new offerings, and some restructuring and all kinds of stuff, right? And so we're going to spend a lot of time on that, and then we're going to take a deeper look at what does a $100 million company look like. So if we were to do $100 million in revenue, what would that look like? Would it be international expansion? How big can we get here in the United States? So we're going to spend time doing that. And then I was telling you before we got on the show, we try to do some bonding, right? So we're doing a cool dinner at one of my favorite restaurants down in Columbus, Ohio. And we're going to a Blue Jackets game, like in the club seats, and we have a lot of hockey fans on the executive team. So we're doing it. And the thing I was going to say is it was a little bit of an interesting and Chris, kind of a tough year for me, because I usually go all out. Like we go to like cool cities. We go Key West. We go Scottsdale, Fort Worth, Texas, Nashville. We get kind of an obnoxious house. And all of our spouses come to end the week, right? So after we get through this, we spend the weekend just totally detoxing and hanging out, but kind of have this camaraderie that's built between husbands and wives and the whole unit that is, I think, EPI. This year I had to make a tough decision because I usually have to make this decision by July 1st. And we were off track on our numbers for the first time in 5 years. And I said to myself, as an owner and as an executive here, I don't feel right doing the obnoxious stuff when we're not hitting our numbers. So
you're not winning,
right?
You're not winning.
I didn't feel right, and I could tell. It was disappointing. At the same time, I tell you, my dad was pretty happy, right? Who everybody knows, 51% owner of EPI. He was like, that was the right decision.
Yeah.
And I think it was the right decision for us. And so that's why I don't think it changes the retreat. We're actually back on track now, but I had to make that decision to say, guys, if we're not going to hit our numbers, we're not going to do some of the stuff that I think we're accustomed to doing, which was a little bit of a different feel for a lot of the executives because we're usually winning.
Yeah. I mean, some of my experience has been in those moments that what needs to be true for us to do a Columbus event versus an Orlando event versus a Key West event.
Absolutely true.
And kind of decide that up front with your team so they're not surprised when we're off and it's like, yeah, it's not bad, but we're going to Columbus.
Yeah. We're not going to Key West.
We're not going to Key West, right? And unfortunately, maybe spouses aren't coming.
Yes.
And as psychological as it might sound to our listeners, it matters when the spouses are connected because they will ask and they will remind.
Yes.
Right. We used to ship. This is back when I was at MCPC, and we had 100 salespeople, and we would do trips with like that. We would ship like what the targets were to the house, such that the spouse knew if they weren't hitting their numbers, they weren't going. I know that might sound mean, right? But it was real, right? Because it does take a village. It does take a family sometimes to get those things through. When you got to push a little bit more to get to the results that you signed up for.
And it did. I mean, one might argue that because of that change in tone, they saw how serious I was.
I was about to suggest that,
right? And they go, "All right, he's serious. Right. Like let's buckle down. Let's make it happen." And we're back on track.
I can't tell you. I mean, in coaching, so often I say similar patterns of things all the time. But one of the things that we talk about, because I'm competitive, you're competitive, and you want teams that want to win. Truly. And what you really are describing to them is how do we win, right? It's like we got to win the week, to win the month, to win the quarter, to win the year. And part of your planning process is just setting all that up. And when we're off track team, we got to figure out how to get on track because this is a winning team, right? And just reminding people of that along the way, especially when things get hard, because they do. Like you said, is it the 3s? Is it the 5s? Maybe. It probably depends on the business, the stage it's in, industry it's in, outside influences, market influences, those things. But we're paying attention to them to know how we're going to win.
Yeah, I think, and I think it sent a message, and I think we gained a lot of respect from all people at EPI, right? All of our employees, all of our team that said, like, I think most, maybe not most, but I think there's certainly some owners that, they're making cuts here and there, but they're still rolling in the Ferrari, and they're like, well, what the, come on, and so I think when we announced that company wide, that look, we have to host our executive retreat because that's what brings us together and strategizes, but. we're going to either do it here in EPI HQ, or we'll just kind of go down in Columbus, kind of get away from everything. But we're not doing the big extravagant because frankly, if the executive team's not winning, then we're definitely all not winning, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it was a win overall for us.
One of the concepts we talk about is owners envy versus owners angry. And so the envy part is when you roll in with that Ferrari and they're like, oh, that guy's doing really well. Hopefully that means we as a company's doing really well.
Right? Something must be going right.
Something must be going right.
Yeah.
Or when you just laid off 20 people and you still rolling with the Ferrari,
yes.
and now they're angry. They're not envious anymore.
No.
They're
right.
angry because I don't get it, right? And so it does affect the culture a lot when there's tone deafness to what's really occurring, and seeing the signs and they're trying to predict them. One thing that we did at 90 this year, which we've done in my past a little bit, but this year we did it to a whole nother level, is we brought the whole company together for a couple days, but one of those days was Hackathon Day.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone, it was a marketplace of ideas. So it wasn't the leadership team driving the ideas. It really was everyone in the company got to submit their ideas, and then they were upvoted by the number of people that wanted to participate in that topic.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
so we had it going in. We had about everyone knew what team they were on, because then we had to remove some people around because some ideas had too many people. Like we can't have 20 people on that idea.
Yeah,
we got a
right.
second choice is coming up. And then we literally started at 8 a.m. Everyone disperses in their team once we set kind of the tone of what was going to happen. And then some of us were roving around to help support some of the teams during that period. But what you saw was just incredible. Camaraderie came from, because you had a mix of people from all over the organization, right?
Yep.
We're remote, so we're 130 some people, so we get to see each other on Zoom all the time, but you don't really get to sit shoulder to shoulder with somebody working on a topic that you think is exciting and cool. It's not just the next issue to be solved, it's the next opportunity to create.
Yes.
And that hackathon came out of it, and it was just on fire.
So how do you create the ideas? Is it employee driven?
Yeah, we just created for us, it was a Google sheet and said, submit your ideas. And everyone started to submit their ideas. And then again, because the whole list, now it's a big list.
Yes.
And then you go, okay, team, we've got everybody, like you had a time, that's your deadline. Now go in and place your name next to the idea that you want to participate in. And that's the upvote moment to the idea. Because if no one signs up for the idea, it's dead.
Yeah, it's dead.
It's dead.
Just simply dead. Yeah.
Nobody cares. It's just you alone. So anyways, you get rid of all those ideas that didn't get upvoted by participation, and then you do have to sort some of the teams out, because if you got too many customer success people on an item, that's not going to work, because we need more perspective from across the company to weigh in on what's doable. And because we're a software company, as an example, there was one topic that I submitted because it's something that we've needed to figure out. We were told no, we couldn't figure it out. And then one of the engineers was like, I could do that in a weekend.
You're like, perfect.
Oh! When you're excited, you're like, what do you mean you could do that in a weekend?
Yeah.
It was meaningful. But we just had a bunch of unlocks that came out of the hackathon. And then reprioritized, because we did it as part of our annual planning process. We wanted to get those ideas on the table, because there are things that maybe the leadership team didn't know or didn't see that the rest of the team had saw. So I just offer that if you get the team together.
I might have to take that from you. So we do something, I told you that pre-retreat, right? That 1 day offsite for our entire organization. We do something similar. We call it the one big idea. So it's like Shark Tank themed.
Yep.
People like a month ago were able to your point, just casually submit their ideas with like a 1-page framework, right? You kind of had to think about ROI, describe it, and just give a 1-page summary to the executive team. And then I think there was maybe out of 46 people, I think there was 8 or 9 ideas submitted.
Okay.
And then we pick the executive team picks the top 3. Those top 3 people then present in front of the entire company at the pre-retreat. So they get 15 minutes to articulate their idea. And then they get just battered with questions from the audience like you would on Shark Tank. And then the employees vote. And you get a monetary bonus for the idea, and you get an opportunity, if you want it, to work on the implementation team for the idea. And we do 50% of the bonus for the idea, but you don't get the other 50% until the idea is fully executed. And so it's similar, but I wonder, to your point, if I just said everybody starts submitting ideas and then sign up for an idea that you're passionate about, if that would change the dynamic, that would be kind of cool.
I was a little skeptical, to be honest, because this wasn't. I've done hackathons in the past, but not to this. It was our chief product technology officer who put the format together. And I really wanted the idea to be formulated. I'm like, hey, they can do a Loom so everyone can see it.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, get the idea and then let the team actually mold it, shape it, because it might be something different. And I think that level of collaboration versus like saying this is it,
Yes.
right? This wasn't fully scoped,
Yeah.
but it was directionally, correct, heading in the right direction. And then when the team came together to work on it we ran a full day. Like we said, you can go 24 hours. like we'll give you pizza and whatever. But I think most teams, quit after about 12 or so, and then came back the next morning to present. And we had every team present on the idea. And then basically you look at it and go, okay, that seems like it has a lot of traction that we can put behind it. Let's go ahead and execute it.
That's pretty interesting. Yeah. And giving them a full day, what powerful experience that might be for everybody.
For everybody to come together.
That's pretty cool, man. Pretty cool.
Two other things I'd offer that I've seen. So I love your 100 million, right?
Yeah.
So have you ever read the book 10x thinking is easier than 2x by chance?
Yeah.
That's it, right? Like sharing that with folks, because so often our aperture is like, it would be great to double, but you're like, hey, what if it was 10x? Right? Let's go dream and figure that out a little bit.
Yeah. So we're going to do that. And it's the first, to your point, it's we're like really good in 3-year increments, right? So we're always revisiting 3 years. So if it's like in 20, now that we're moving into 26, we're like, all right, let's go to 28, 27, we'll go to 29, and we'll start working backwards. And I think we've always been pretty good there. But I would say when you look at EPI's executive team and add me and my dad, Kris, into the equation, there's a lot of creative folks in that room.
Yeah.
That are both, I think, like an integrator mindset and a visionary mindset. So that collaboration becomes pretty powerful. And that's what I said. I said, well, let's spend a half day. Let's spend 4 or 5 hours with no agenda other than the question on the table: what does a $100 million company look like? Revenue, operationally, what does it look like? What's our footprint look like? Like, just have at it. Like, I know I have my ideas, right? But it'd be interesting to toss that idea to our director of sales and have him say, wow, that'd be interesting. I wonder if I could get the same close rates in Italy that I would get in America, or a content or program director saying, like, I wonder if they're teaching value acceleration the same way in Germany as we think about it here. And so when you think about international expansion, or maybe there's no international expansion and we just need to open up new markets here, I think it's going to make for a pretty interesting afternoon.
Well, but maybe another time we can talk about that, because I've done a good amount of global work.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So, but happy to share some insight there.
Totally.
So we can't dream without talking about AI.
Okay.
We just can't, right? Like if you're not, then we're in trouble, right? Just because of the force that it is and how fast it's moving and accelerating. So, love to hear your thoughts as you think about 100 million. Maybe that's the target that you start to walk back. Like, what is the role of AI and exit planning, and specifically related to the Exit Planning Institute?
Yeah. So, what a great question. I get this question, I think, every time I have spoken this year. Like, I was just in Orange County. Somebody asked this question.
They've got to, right?
You have to now, right? Yeah. And it's interesting to see the advisory space. So, let me go maybe 2 ways. One, internally at EPI, how we're using it. And
sounds great.
And then externally, how's it affecting maybe our customers, and maybe our customers being professional advisors, and then their end user, the business owners. Let's start there first, because that's typically where I don't know if you're seeing this in the space, a lot of advisors are really nervous about their job being taken away.
They're so nervous.
They're very nervous. And it almost, like in Orange County, it almost got a little combative. Like, people were really, and it's combative only from a sense of they're scared. You could see people that are in their 50s going like, dude, I've been a CPA for like 30 years, can't take my job, And I think for a certified exit planning advisor, I don't think you can replace the relationship that you have. So I actually think AI for a certified exit planning advisor is going to be an enabler, because it's going to allow you to ready up your business owners a lot quicker. I think, you have put the baby boomers aside, and you look at 43% of the privately held companies in America are owned by Gen Xers, and then the remaining chunk owned by millennials. I think it's going to just be a part of their life. It already is. And so I find myself even using that Google AI, right, to just get answers, and I become a little bit more educated. And I think becoming more educated, particularly in the exit planning space, and allowing business owners to realize and be curious, then lean into a relationship and not a transaction, I think could be very powerful. And I would say that we're using it on the same basis to help train our own people at EPI, to help build out your ideal summit agenda. So now we're saying, like, this year, for example, as well, like in our Beyond SEPA path, We've had 3,200 new people become SEPAs this year, and they're trying to figure out their path. Our path is still very static, right? You're kind of going through these like checklists. And what I'm realizing is maybe I can even customize the path even further for you by just asking you some questions in AI, and it spits out the ideal plan for you. Or like at our exit planning summit, people are going for a variety of different reasons. But what if when you come to the summit, you can ask a bunch of questions, and it would spit out directly what partners you should meet with, right? There's 50 people in there. How do I meet all these people? Well, no, you should meet with these 5 first and these 5 next. And you should attend these types and styles of sessions. And you shouldn't go to that networking event because it's probably not worth your time, but you should go to that one. I think that's kind of powerful. So that's kind of how we're using it internally and maybe a viewpoint of externally.
Yeah, we had this conversation over dinner one time because I love marketplace concepts. I mean, all the way back to my .com days.
Yeah.
And I do think this is a marketplace of relationships. Mm-hmm. And how you navigate them, and even saying, hey, you're a SEPA, you can call EPI and one of our concierge folks will help you out.
Sure.
Right?
Yes.
But that friction in that whole model, because it's based on tribal understanding, maybe a little bit of database stuff going on, right? But the friction in that model is so heavy, right? That we're taking time and doing things that have value, but it's limited value in the transaction versus the creativity that you can create by freeing yourself up from the things that are friction based.
Yeah.
And I think that's your relationship moment if we can do that, and then as a SEPA, as an advisor, you don't put your time into friction-based scenarios. It's now relationship. Like I can actually get deeper, do more for you in a creative way than I spend whatever percentage of my time in transactional sales just trying to figure things out. And getting the outputs or even creating the inputs to the outputs versus really knowing what that plan is for, what that plan should be for the person, right? And I think your opportunity, especially as there's your quarterback model and like how do they choose the right advisors for that business owner? Well, it's probably because they came to a chapter meeting and they met that attorney. How do you know that's the right person based upon, we were joking that even Cleveland's small and it's hard to know all the relationships. Yeah. Right. But what if you actually did? What if the marketplace existed and we were all putting in our credentials, and if you would, even that 5-star review moment?
Exactly.
Right? Like if you have a bad review because it didn't go well, and that was public information inside this marketplace of relationships, I think that there's such good opportunity. Yeah, because we're not wasting time.
Well, that's what I get your friction moment, right? There's no friction anymore because we kind of like move all the junk out of the way, and we can get stuff done in a quicker and more meaningful way and get to highest and best use. And I think it avoids some confusion, in my opinion.
And I would even offer that to your CPA person, and I've been in these books, getting all upset because it happens in my world too. The coaches are so much like our software. We've just begun really getting the AI where it needs to be, and when we start to paint the vision of what it's going to do, they pull back into it and they're like, "Well, it's going to replace me." I'm like, "If you're replaceable." If you stay in this moment, if you stay in that mode and you don't shift, then you will be replaceable. But if you make yourself not replaceable and you invest into the moment of saying, I see that's going to be a good co-pilot for the work that I do. I can extend my creative point, which is where I was going with the CPA. CPA might not think that there's creative moments, but there actually is. Right? Like those folks that really understand accounting, and what most real accountants know is there's so much gray that exists and so much time that if we didn't have to, like what QuickBooks is doing right now, and QuickBooks has been passed by several other application sets, what it can actually do in finance and accounting is incredible. Right? Now that gives that person hopefully the opportunity to go figure out what creativity really can be. But they don't see it that way. And I think part of our role of folks that are connected in those communities is to go champion that opportunity for them to say, this isn't a replacement moment, right? Totally. Unless you let it be. And if you do, then it will. If you don't, then it won't.
Yeah, I know, right? You need to be, and that was where the discussion went when we were at this summit, where just like it's here. It's not going away.
Can't put the genie back in the bottle.
Well, no, it's out.
It's out.
Right? It's out. So like, why not start discussing ways that we can make it a part of who we are and enable some of the deeper, more creative stuff that I think we're all capable of doing?
Yeah, it's public information. 90. We have a great relationship with EOS Worldwide.
Right.
And it's very specific that we can't, as an application, teach. That's what the job of the professional implementers are. Totally cool, right? We don't teach. But then when we had our agreement change because of AI, they're like, well, your AI can't teach. I'm like, in what world?
Yeah, right.
Like, what world
Like,
are
what
you
do you
in?
mean? That's kind of
I'm
of course it is.
That's what it's going to do.
Yeah, of
like
course
you
it's
can't
going to
stop
do
it.
that.
Like,
Yeah,
and
right.
even if we tried to compartmentalize our AI from not being able to teach, we all know AI is talking to AI. And so you can't stop that, right? So
Yeah.
you
It's like
can't
compounding. Yeah.
put it into a corner and then expect the baby to stay there. No one's going to put that baby in the corner.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It's coming out.
That would be interesting. I mean, we have the same type of. I mean, that's also a scenario, right? Where people, when we start talking at EPI in groups of our CEPAs, they actually are pushing back, like the EOS implementer might, saying like, Scott, well, are you trying to replace the advisor? I'm like, no. I'm actually trying to promote you. And I like the way you put it, though. I'm trying to reduce friction and put you in a very creative and relationship moment where, like, very educated business owners are showing up because they've actually been easily able to co-pilot, this, or use the AI as a co-pilot to get to the end result. So, but no, I think, like I said, I think it's here. So it's like
there's a book, and I'm not going to remember the author, so apologies, but everyone can search for it. It's called "Steal Like an Artist."
Okay.
And it gets your attention, right? But it doesn't mean literally steal other people's art, right? What it means is artists they're a combination of all experiences that they've had from others, and they bring that creativity together to create. And I think that's what AI is going to help us even be better at, because it will take that friction out. Because your experiences, if you're trying to solve exit planning in Germany, like, guess who actually knows that? AI does. Right? This does, right? Because it's not stuck in the United States with one set of experiences. It is ubiquitous, and I know it gets scary, and we could go all out of other places, which we won't from a movie perspective, right? What's going to happen when it becomes aware? I don't know, but the moment we're in,
the moment we're in, right,
you can't afford not to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exit planning is strategic planning. That's why 90 partnered with the Exit Planning Institute to help leaders build organizations that are ready for anything, including a successful transition. Take Josh Anderson from Acuity Technologies. In 2021, his team started running on EOS powered by 90. They focused on clarity, accountability, and execution. Earlier this year, they exited, joining forces with Decision Point Technologies. For Josh, this wasn't luck. It was the result of doing the work, staying disciplined, and using the right tools to drive outcomes. Ready for your successful exit story? Join us at 90.io Exit Planning to learn more.
Are you a business owner seeking to unlock the true potential of your enterprise? Look no further than the second edition of Christopher Snyder's revolutionary book, Walking to Destiny: 11 Actions an Owner Must Take to Rapidly Grow Value and Unlock Wealth. In this updated edition, Snyder presents proven strategies for maximizing your company's value and accelerating growth. Whether you're aiming to sell or simply want to ensure long-term success, this book offers a blueprint for building a thriving, self-sustaining business. Walking to Destiny isn't just another book, it's a game changer, backed by Snyder's own experience as a successful business owner and as a CEPA. This book bridges the gap between business owners and advisors, guiding you towards financial freedom. But don't just take our word for it. Hear from those whose lives have been transformed by its insights. One satisfied reader raves, "The best guide for transitioning out of privately owned companies. I recommend it to all business owners and advisors." Another praises it on its focus for maximizing business value, calling it their, quote, principal tool for educating owners. Ready to take control of your business's destiny? Visit walkingtodestiny.com now and use code EXITISNOW to claim your free copy of Walking to Destiny: 11 Actions an Owner Must Take to Rapidly Grow Value and Unlock Wealth. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Make the moment perfect by seizing this opportunity today.
Well, I'm going to shift gears if that's all right.
Sure.
So a question I've heard from others, but also I'm curious myself, is you're not a CEPA. You're not practicing.
Me.
Yeah. So what was that a decision you made at one point in time? Were you ever curious to go practice for a little while?
Yeah, I think you're maybe the first on this show in 3 seasons to ask me that question.
Really? Because
I mean, people talk about it, they never ask direct.
Okay.
Right? And so to your point, maybe I would say maybe 2 or 3-fold. So my immediate answer has always been, I'm a business owner. I'm not an advisor. As a business owner, I actually lean into my own certified exit planning advisors to help power my business on my own value acceleration journey while teaching them value acceleration, right? This is unique kind of relationship. But I think without folks, even like my dad, who is a CEPA, I wouldn't be in the position that I am today. Is that I always say that I'd like Exit Planning Institute to be the own case study of business ownership as it relates to the value acceleration methodology and our path there. So one I've never maybe the word that comes to mind, Kris, is like I've never identified as a SEPA and an advisor. And so I've actually never been drawn directly to the SEPA program to go through the modules and pass the test. I'd rather teach at the program from a business owner's perspective. And I think if you look across our SEPA faculty members who are in there teaching these more technical modules, some of them might own an advisory practice, but they're not outside of advisory work. They're not like a manufacturing company, a distribution company, a service-based company. And so I'd like to think I bring a unique lens inside of that program, and I'd like to teach from the business owner's perspective. Two, and maybe the funnier part is I actually don't qualify. And so I don't qualify. You have to have a bachelor's degree to become a certified exit planning advisor, and you have to showcase 5 years of working experience. And this one you can get a waiver on, if you will, if you're working directly with a partner. But basically, you have to show 5 years of working experience to also working with business owners directly to become a SEPA. Well, I don't work with business owners. I am one, but I work actually with professional advisors. So I'm indirectly work with business owners through my members. And on the flip side, I never graduated college, Kris. I went to John Carroll for a year, and I went to Ohio State's Agricultural Technical Institute for 2 years. I dropped out of both to run my first company, to then eventually sell it. So I just, and between those two things, like, of course, in our privately held business, could we make a exemption for me to become a SEPA? Perhaps. Maybe am I qualified to become a SEPA? Perhaps. But I also have a bias, right? Like we write the test, we write the program. So it just never, that's my honest answer. Like it just between those two things, I'm like, well, I don't really qualify. And maybe I'd push harder on it if I really felt drawn to the advisory space. But I'm drawn to the business owner space, and I want to build a community of advisors that can come influence people and impact people like me.
Yeah. Well, what I love about that first part is its focus, right? Yeah. Like, because focus is not just like, hey, I can grit it out, I can grind it out. It's where passion lies too.
Yeah.
And if you're not drawn to, and if you're not passionate about it, could you potentially do it just to understand it? Yeah, but that's not really going to get you where that full level of experience.
Yeah. Unless
you go do the work to understand the work. So I wouldn't do it, right?
I think that's fair, and I think that's fair. It's like. It's hard for me to explain. So I'm in this like weird spot where I have my mentor, like if I'm the Karate Kid, my Mr. Miyagi is my dad, right? Like when I owned my first company at 16, though it wasn't called the value acceleration methodology yet, Dad was teaching me long-term value and short-term gains, right? Like the successful part of a company and the significant part of a company. I joke sometimes that when we sell EPI, my book will be growing up through the value acceleration methodology. So, and then you maybe blessed enough is the phrase that Dad allowed me to contribute to the second version of Walking to Destiny with some of my own stories on how we use the methodology. And so it's like I'm a teacher of it. I'm also a student of it, but I don't know if I guess I've never even tried to coach a business owner through it. If like you would, or like a certified exit planning advisor would through the methodology. I don't know if I'm any good at it. I don't know, right? Yeah. I have the same struggles when I go talk to our SEPAs in the field. They're like, Scott, you sound like a friggin' owner. Like you got to get a financial readiness assessment. What are you doing, dude? Where's your 10-year vision? I'm like, well,
Well, I love the answer, by the way. Because I think that is the honest answer, and that's a really good answer. But you open this next door, which is a question I was going to ask as well. So it feels like everyone's writing a book. I tell you, I was at a networking thing the other night, and it's like the business cards are gone. They just hand you their book, and I'm like, oh okay, I get stacks of them, right?
Yeah.
But you mentioned the book. So is there a book you're working on, a book that's in your head? If so, what's the catchy title?
Oh, man. All right, so let me go there, because this is like right before we jumped on the show. I was getting out of a meeting, and we were talking about this very subject. And so, you'd be a good guy to actually ping this off so we could do it live. And so I believe there's tons of books around how business owners can 10x the value of their company or 10x the revenue of their company, right? But it kind of focuses on the business owner themselves and how do you take your business and build it stronger and better. I don't, and there might be, so please recommend, but I don't find a lot of books, if any books, that have really hit me to say, how do your employees 10x the value of your business? I think one of the things that we've been able to unlock at EPI as our privately held company is that we have a bunch of value creators here, right? They think like owners, not just as like 8 to 5 employees. Now that's taken us probably 6 years to build that culture and attract those types of people. But I think this might be the one thing that owners are really, what really unlocks the methodology with owners is falling into using EPI concepts, the human capital side and the social, the culture capital side of your business, and how if I wasn't able to train and influence the 46 employees here at EPI to become more value creators versus income generators, I don't think you could grow at the rate. And beyond just the growth, I don't know if you can protect the value of your company along the way if you don't have other folks around you. In fact, an entire organization leading with purpose, feeling like regardless of where they're at on the corporate hierarchy, they're a leader in their own right, and powering the whole company's value forward. And so I have this book in my head around like how to create more value creator employees to empower the whole methodology and approach forward. But there's a deeper one that I just came out of a session on. What I realized in 2020, so 2012, we buy the company. 2013, we implement the value acceleration methodology, and we go from 13 to 2020, it's basically 7 years. And we go from about 150 CEPAs to maybe 2,000, right? So good growth. Right. Like everybody felt pretty good. Pandemic hits, we pivot the whole company, and we start to go, I think for multiple reasons, but from 2020 to 2025, we go from 2,000 CEPAs to 9,000 CEPAs in a 5-year period. And for me, one of the biggest things I realized in 2020 is that the past 7 years, I had built an organization that was really about me and what I thought a good business looked like, but I didn't build it with we in mind. Mm-hmm. And in 2020, we built a company that was not built by me. The core values that you see hanging behind you on the wall were built by the whole company. Our old core values quite literally hung on a wall, but they were all kind of concepts from a book, my dad's book that I believed in, or what you see a lot in our classrooms and our collaboration. We have this concept of relentless execution. That was one of our core values. But no one could ever like tell you how they lived it or examples. Right. The ones behind you now, given they were written by basically 40 people, we have lived experiences all the time where we can show examples of it. And over the past 5 years, I've built this company that was really more about we than about me. It's allowed me to get uncomfortable or be comfortable getting a little bit uncomfortable, because some of the things around my own company, I'm like, I'm not really like with that. But just because I'm one of 46. And so maybe there's 40 people that love that and 6 people that are like, I'll live with it. But you're not in life. You don't like everything. And so I have this other concept within building these value creator employees where how do you create organizations that are truly about we and not me? And that, I think, Kris, was one of the things that broke that brick wall down, and we went, and, we've doubled our chapters. We've tripled the amount of summit attendees. We've gone from 2,000 to 9,000 certified exit planning advisors. And, we have a 5-star, a 5 out of 6 in our world, a best in class culture that's winning awards across the nation for culture and people. Yeah. And for me, man, I have like really great personal clarity in my life. Like I'm able to make decisions in life and business that help power what I want to do and what my family wants to do forward as well. So it's been a really cool, particularly couple of years too. But I think that's coming. I think that's a next year thing for me.
What's the book called?
I don't know yet. That's what I'm saying. It's either me. It's like, I don't know. It's like this value creator employee. It's this 10. Maybe they put it in the notes when you're watching this live on LinkedIn. Right. Should throw in some comments, but that's where my head's at.
Yeah, just watching your body language, it probably has something to do with that brick wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That,
I mean, you could, because you want the title to be visual, and for me, I'd want it to be visual in its nature, but also personal and passionate as you go to write it. So just watching you blow up the brick wall.
Cool.
Yeah, I think there could be an opportunity there.
All right, cool.
I was going through the books in my head. The best one I can come up with is by Alex Freitag. The book's called Profit Works.
Yeah.
So Profit Works is actually, it's not the same. It's similar. It's trying to get the business owners to unlock sharing the profit inside the business.
Yeah.
Ownership is tricky. So at 90, as an example, everyone's an owner. Right. But you have to have a long-term mindset of they unlock to ownership to cash. And often we don't. And it's okay. That stage and place that people are at, cash is king in their situation. Maybe they need to buy a house. Owning stock in a company that's not going to have a transaction for 7 years kind of doesn't really help.
Yeah.
And so there is that moment where, thinking about the right unlock for the stage the company's in and the team members, the employees, and go, what really matters to them right now could be profit. And so how they participate in that, right, is an interesting equation. But Profit Works tries to do that and give business owners. I've had a couple different companies I've coached that were enabling that work by Alex. So
that's interesting. I know Alex. I had him on the podcast season 1, and we have read Profit Works' book and talked to that. Like, how do you allow your employees to participate financially as business owners?
Well, and because when we say things like we want you to act like an owner, think like an owner, but if you don't understand the P&L and how profit moves inside the organization, and inside the U.S. we have the 8 cash flow drivers, which is really around profit and getting the entire company to connect to it such that they can go, hey, that makes great sense. But then if they connect to it and we really do well together, but we don't share, that's when it breaks down. We're back to that owner's envy and owner angry.
That's true too. Absolutely true. And I think like when I had to start to think through and the way we've developed culture here, I would say the same thing that I think, and Alex talks about this, I think, in his book, where too many owners share the P&L, right? There's not a lot of owners sharing P&Ls, don't get me wrong, but when they do, they don't do any education. It's something like, I think Alex talks about this in the book. He goes, like, the average American employee thinks the owner's making 50% profit. Right. So if you have a $10 million revenue business, you're like, dude, that guy's wealthy beyond wealth, right? He's making $5 million a year.
The taxes yet.
Little do they know, right? That you might be taking 10 to 30% home, right? Which is still a big number.
Still a good number.
But it's not 50%, right? And so it's I think when I was talking about the way we look at culture, that would fit into a little bit of mentality and vision for us where we have to coach. Like, we're doing these lunch and learns now at EPI, teaching the value acceleration back to our employees on a regular basis to help them further their thought around being value creator employees and frankly, just better into their jobs, right? Because we work with CEPAs all day. We probably should understand their worlds and their basic terminology. And so, we find ourselves in these lunch and learns now where different executives here, mainly our director of product development, Chase Ross, teaching lunch and learns around the value acceleration methodology. He's the guy that helped Kris create the versions that you see today of the CEPA program. So he's like our resident CEPA, if you will. So talk about a guy that's getting his CEPA designation, right? So Chase would qualify, and Chase, we made a part of his business or part of his professional development plan. We said that Chase, you wrote the test with Kris for the CEPA exam, so you can take it, right? You should take it. You likely pass it. But part of these lunch and learns is, I think, the true test is when you can teach value acceleration in its foundational form to your peers. And so he's been hosting these lunch and learns. It's kind of a cool thing. It's not taught by me, not by Kris, but another internal executive here at EPI. But it's been kind of a pretty cool moment to watch that kind of come together.
Awesome. Do we have time for one more question?
One more question would be great. Yep.
So, because everyone also has a podcast, Scott. So we have at 90, we're launching a podcast that I'm co-host of. It's called Impact Moments, powered by 90. And our closing question, and your team told me I can't swear on the air, so I'm not going to swear. But is there one thing, I know, is there one thing that you think you really effed up as a leader in the company?
My honest answer straight out of the gate is I let an organization be created only by me, and I never asked any questions.
Okay.
I literally leaned back into that moment because it was such a profound, and you know me a little bit personally, like, right, I had a girlfriend in the business at the time that was kind of dictating my personal and business life, and I put like a little bit of a blinder on me, and it had changed my relationship with my dad, who is my business partner. And then just my lived experience way before that it was just like, well, this is my company, of course. Like, I want the color to be blue, and I want these core values, and I believe we should work in this type of environment. And of course, I love people and I love teams. So we're going to go take over Dave and Buster's one day. But I never realized that, well, maybe I don't want to drink beer at Dave & Buster's all day. That's not meaningful for me because I have 4 kids at home, right?
Right.
And I don't necessarily, that incentive program looks cool to you, but you never asked really what's meaningful to me. And, well, I like the color green, not blue. And I would like more big collaboration spaces versus just little cookie cutter offices, right? And it was a really profound moment for me that I think I really screwed up, where I was like, man, though, and I was blinders on because we were doing good. The business was successful, but it wasn't significant, man. It wasn't something that people wrote home about. It wasn't something that could be transferable to a buyer. And it wasn't something that people, I think, wanted to come. I round out the story, Kris, we're sitting in this leadership training session in 2021. I have 11 people working at EPI. And we had pivoted the company. We came out of 2020. We're now 2021. We're back on track. And the vibe is just poor. It's just not, you could tell like people are like faking it, you know? Mm-hmm. And so finally, Jocelyn, who's our director of operations, says, "Fine, Scott, I'll just tell you. Since no one wants to tell you, we're going to do it right now." And remember, those core 5 or 6 people out of the 11, like I know in my personal life too, and Jocelyn's one of them. And she goes, "I'll just say it now. All 11 of us are looking for jobs." Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Like I got 2,500. Now I got like 2,500 or 3,000 SEPAs. I got 15 chapters around the United States. We're planning to have our conference come back in 2022, and I have no employees. Like, dude, I'm dead in the water. Like we're screwed. And I think that's the moment where I go, man, I screwed up, dude. Yeah. So I said, well, why? And they went down this path where I had to be a listener. And I realized in that moment that, man, I literally never asked, like, where do you want to work? Like, we both are passionate about this work that we do, but let's create an environment and core values and everything that comes along with a company, and let's create it with all of us in mind. So that was probably my oh shit moment, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm like, man.
You swore.
Yeah, I know. It's not the F word, though. You were about to use the F word.
I was
you were
going
about to use the F word.
I was.
But hey, you know. So yeah. Well, I appreciate that, man, and I really appreciate you coming in. I guess I was going to say coming to Cleveland, but you live down the street, right?
Yeah. Well, I would say if I could offer, that's the opening of your book.
What, that story?
That story.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the best books open for me, they open with stories, not academics, right? The academic exercise of how to build a great company, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
But starting with the story that shows the humility, the moment that you realize that was the thing, especially because you're going to talk about that topic of how you build a company of significance with the employees, right? Not through them, but with them.
Yes.
That's a great story to tell you. How did I get here?
Yeah,
right?
that is my story of how I got here for sure. That if that moment, I don't think we would have changed, honestly. We would have just kept trucking and being like a steamroller, man. I mean, it wouldn't have been the same.
We talk about this often when this topic is hitting the ceiling, and how hitting the ceiling it's inevitable, but it's good. Yes. And because when we hit the ceiling, that's where learning lives, because when we're winning, we don't stop. Right? We just do the things we keep doing. But when we hit a ceiling or we see the ceiling coming, it causes us to reflect and learn on their circumstances. Yeah. And often that's where the unlock comes from. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to win, and then you're going to hit the ceiling really hard. And sometimes the arrogance kicks in, and then the owner's opportunity is to sell the business or lose the business if they're not willing to do what you did, which is going into the learning mode of, okay, how did I get here? What has to change?
Dude, that's a great one too. Is like I went probably all of 2021. It was a 9-session thing that we started at the end of 2020. So I had like another 5 sessions to get through in 2021. And it was learning and listening, like just being really curious. Like, why are we at this state? Like, how did I let this get here? Why haven't we talked about it? Right? Like, why haven't you told me? Like, I hang out with you here, and then we go to the bar and we have dinner together. And like, you're my friend. I go on vacation with you. You couldn't tell me that? And they're like, look at how defensive you're getting right now. You're not approachable. Like, I can't talk to you. This is one of the problems, right? So, but anyways, that was some great questions. I really appreciate that. So with that, folks, Kris, again, thanks for coming on. Yeah. Please listen and on all of your podcast platforms and leave a review. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Kris. We'll see you next
Scott.
time.
It's great.
Thanks.